Richie Elgar says this is the best matchup possible, and boxing fans can't stomach saying that because they never give Francis any credit. Wait till Francis KOs Joshua, then what are you all going to have no choice but to respect him? I already respect him. You know, MMA is one of the toughest sports in the world, and he's proven to be the top heavyweight in that sport. Then he's transferred codes in his first boxing match. He's given Tyson Fury all he can handle. He's got my respect, and I'm sure the respect of many, many boxing fans out there, many of whom are probably in this chat. Ainsley Shan says people are just going off the Fury fight. Fury didn't train and still won. I mean, we should note that Fury's given no excuses about that fight. He insists he did train and that he was, trying his best. He was 100%. So whether he's telling the truth or not, we're all just making assumptions. Fury, to his credit, has made no excuses. And I guess we'll see when Fury fights Joshua. That's a bit of wishful thinking. When Fury fights Usyk on February the 17th, perhaps then we'll see just how much Fury trained for Ngannou. Noxiri White says, hugely impressed with Ngannou in the Stipe rematch, but I just think he's going to get sunned in this one. Oh, sunned, does it? Yeah, I get it. I'm not down with the kids, but I get it. We shall see. But yeah, Josh, do you think that it's an advantage for Joshua that he's not going in blind in the same way Fury was? Fury had never seen Ngannou in a boxing match. Footage of him sparring was quite old and not necessarily reliable. Joshua's got to see him in a full 10 rounds against Tyson Fury already, so he kind of knows what to expect.
Yeah, I think it's a massive thing in terms of mindset for Anthony Joshua. Tyson Fury going into that fight, I think you can't really dress it up. He did take him lightly to some extent. Whatever that extent, people will make assumptions, as you say, about the training that he did and how ready he was physically and mentally for that fight. But it's going to be very different, I think, for Anthony Joshua. He's seen what Francis Ngannou is capable of in a boxing ring against, in many people's opinions, the best in the world as well. And if you measure what Francis Ngannou did against Tyson Fury, that puts him on a level with Anthony Joshua. He's not a million miles away from that level, I think lots would say. So you've definitely got to look at what he produced against Fury, and I think that's going to change the mindset massively for Anthony Joshua, and he will be preparing for this fight like it's a really big fight, because if he doesn't win this, what is there to go at for Anthony Joshua? Not very much, probably. So win this fight, world title, not win this fight, and then where do you go?
Well, I assume, and we should find this out today, hopefully, because we asked Frank Warren, he refused to answer ahead of the press conference, but we assume there's a rematch clause. So if, Joshua is to lose, and I was about to say if the unthinkable happens, but it doesn't seem quite so unthinkable since Ngannou's performance against Fury. If he does manage to pull it off against AJ, then I assume there would be a rematch. But reputationally, it'd be very hard for Joshua to recover from that. Similar to if Fury had dropped that verdict against Ngannou, it's hard enough for his reputation to recover from being dropped and pushed all the way against an MMA fighter making his first appearance under traditional boxing rules. So, yeah, it's an incredibly risky fight for Joshua in that sense, reputationally. In the ring, I'm not sure how risky it is. I spoke to Adam Morley, co-founder of SJAM Boxing, about an hour or two ago, and he said that the chief sparring partner for Francis Ngannou for his last fight and for this one is Guido Vianello, the gladiator, the heavyweight boxer that SJAM have on their roster. And he said Guido told him that it's actually quite a tough fight for Joshua, and that Ngannou hits effing hard, expletive deleted hard. But we probably all knew that from him dropping Fury and some of his striking in MMA. But yes, I don't think it can be completely discounted, but I just think from a technical boxing perspective, assuming Joshua has taken the fight seriously and his team around him won't let him do otherwise, I think with Ben Davison and the rest of his team there, Barry Smith and Lee Wiley and so on, I think they'll have it instilled into Joshua that he needs to be on his guard. He needs to be aware of the threat that Ngannou poses. And then I think he should prove a different class in what is a boxing match. I think whether Fury trained or not, maybe we'll never know, or how hard he trained. But the fact is that Fury did seem to underestimate him. He did seem surprised and unable to adapt to what Ngannou brought. And he fought in a different way than a lot of people expected, it should be pointed out. Whereas with Joshua, you've got to think that he's got a bit more knowledge of what to expect. And he's been around. He had a longer amateur career than Fury did. He's been a professional for a long time now. He's faced pretty much every different style, not just kind of orthodox and southpaw, but he's faced, movers, aggressive fighters, box punches. He's had a bit of everything. with varying degrees of success, although for the majority, he has beaten clearly. So I would make Joshua a heavy favourite going into this. But it'll be interesting to see. I'm assuming there's already odds out, but it'll be interesting to see how the bookmakers have it. Josh, you tempted into a flutter?
I'm not tempted into a flutter, but I've actually got the odds in front of me for that one. Anthony Joshua 1-6 to win the fight. Francis Ngannou 7-2, and I think we've seen a lot further outsiders, maybe even in heavyweight title fights. I'm not quite sure what odds Otto Wallin was against Anthony Joshua, but I can't imagine it was a million miles away from 7-2 what Francis Ngannou is. So I think the bookie's giving him a similar chance to Otto Wallin, and quite a lot of people, I think, thought that Wallin might have done a job on Joshua.
I'm pretty sure that Wallin, because I brought this up in an interview with him, I'm pretty sure he was 6-1 overall to win.
So yeah, further out than Ngannou.
Well, it's almost half, isn't it? You know, 7-2 is like what, 3.5 to 1. So yeah, I mean, the bookies are giving Ngannou a pretty fair shot. I suppose the flip side of that is you can make some sort of money on Joshua, especially if you pick the method of victory. I mean, 1-6 odd is pretty, you know, unless you've got loads of money to throw away kind of thing, which I haven't. We both work for the same company, so I think we know money's not always in a free supply. But, you know, if you pick Joshua by, I think Joshua points maybe, because Ngannou is very, very tough.
5-1 for that. So
what is it?
5-1 to win on points.
Wow, it's a 10-rounder, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, 5-1. I might have a little punt on that. But yeah, what do you guys think? Let us know what you guys think of the Joshua and Ngannou fight. You've obviously got the poll up deciding who would win, but would you ever punt on Joshua at 5-1 to win on points? Because that's what I'm considering. Noxiri White says both can find real success up close in the clinches too. It's going to be interesting to see who can show their dominance early. Joey Abel, how effective will Lee Wiley be when there's only one fight to develop the game plan? I imagine Wiley will be able to look at some of the MMA history of Ngannou as well, because there'll be certain things to do with how he closes the distance, how he defends, that, you know, are connected, that have some transferable information for the striking game only. So I don't know if he'll only look at the Fury fight. Christopher Hurst, Fury was shocked with him. AJ knows what to expect. That's the point we were just making, or Josh was just making. John Ansell is asking me about a member of Sonny Edwards' family. Mate, I couldn't possibly comment, is what I'll say. I think Sonny's been getting into Twitter spats with other people more recently, including Anthony Fowler. So I'll let them just crack on and take a much-needed breather from the trolling game. Richie Elgar says, respect to AJ for taking the fight. I think AJ is great, but his chin's going to get clipped. No way AJ goes 10 rounds without getting chinned. Francis has a chin of granite, never been dropped. Christopher Hurst, 10-rounder, it's not real, just about the money. Surely AJ winning on points then's even more likely if that was the case. Austin Adarak TV says, Joshua, nothing to lose. All or nothing makes him very dangerous. Oh, all or nothing makes him very dangerous. I thought it said AI or nothing. I was going to say, what's AI got to do with this? I know it's a hot button topic. Mally LUFC Robinson says, remember this, AJ knocks him out round 6. I will remember it. I might not remember you said it, because I think a lot of people might predict the same sort of thing, but I will try and remember it. Let's just have a quick look at how the poll is going. Joshua currently as the winner, 65%. It kind of still surprises me in what is a hardcore boxing audience, I think, on this SO Live, that Francis Ngannou is getting 35% of the vote to beat Joshua. It's a whole new world indeed. Noxiri White asked me if I'm going out to Saudi. No, I am not. Radio Rahim will be flying out alongside Frank Trevitt, I believe. Or actually, no, I think Frank might be giving this one a miss. It depends on the date. We're waiting to hear the date confirmed. But if it's on March the 8th, as has been rumoured, then I think Frank might be missing this one. And Eamon Khan, with his fresh shaven, looking like Josh Green face, might be going out instead. Before we move on to our next subject, Josh, just before we move on, what's your prediction for the fight?
I think it's hard to look past Joshua. I mean, you talk about the experience and the sort of the ring craft inside that ring, and you can't really compare the two. Anthony Joshua, as you say, extensive amateur career. He's done everything there is to do in the professional scene as well. And Francis Ngannou's only got one fight under his belt, and although he looked very impressive against Tyson Fury, it was a loss, and he's 0-1. So you just compare the experience that the two have got, and you'd have to punt for an Anthony Joshua in terms of his method of victory. I wouldn't be wholly surprised if it went the distance. I mean, you mentioned the chin that Francis Ngannou's got. He can take a punch, and yeah, we just know that he's a very, very tough man. So wouldn't surprise me if it went to points. It's a difficult one to pick for sure.
Joey Abel says, is this similar to a table tennis player playing Djokovic in a match that's taken seriously and everyone's being paid millions? I get the analogy, but I don't think there's as much crossover between table tennis and real tennis, or full tennis, whatever you want to call it, as there is between MMA and boxing, because they are both full force combat sports. I'd say maybe, going from being a doubles specialist to playing a top singles player might be more accurate. Nick Owen says, yeah, being UFC champ doesn't matter, I guess. I mean, it matters a fair bit, I would say. It's still combat sports experience. I'm sure he's done a lot of boxing-only sparring in his time as well. I don't think it's like, just a low-level MMA fighter suddenly, because Ngannou, even when he was in his MMA days, easy for me to say, was sparring the likes of Joe Joyce and Guido Vianello and people like that. So he's not completely unaccustomed to top-level heavyweights. Christopher Hurst agrees with me, says AJ on points. Christopher, all I can say is do what I'm going to do and bet on it. 5-1. Those odds are too good to be turn your nose up at. And also, they probably won't be around for much longer. I imagine those odds will go down.